and welcome to Take Time. I am your host Patrick Marlett, and today I am filming a video way far in advance. I am fortunate enough to know the boys over at Nodus Watches, both Wes and Cullen, and if you're a fan of the brand, I'll encourage you to watch my titular segment, Take Time with Nodus Watches, to get a better feel and understanding of the brand and their inspiration towards watchmaking. But today I have in my hands the Nodus stainless steel. And if you are a longtime fan of the brand, you might have noticed something is a little different here. One thing is not like the other, and that is with the bezel itself. Guess what? The stainless steel series gets its name from that stainless steel bezel. So if you were a fan of the initial run of 12-hour bezeled contrails, those had a sapphire crystal over top, I believe. Instead, you're going to love the stainless steel variant here. The bezel being made of stainless steel isn't the only thing unique here. You'll also notice, I did it again. You'll also notice that the dial itself is a gorgeous sunray blue, and not before now have we had a sunray blue dial for the Contrail series. So if you are a fan of navy blue dials, well, guess what? You're going to love this watch. But how has the Contrail been in day-to-day use? Well, I've had some time with this piece now. I've had it nearly a month as of filming this. I very much an extended stay with the piece, and so far, let's talk about the bad and then move on to the good before I give my final verdict on this piece. But so far, pretty darn good. The case of the Nodus Contrail is 39 millimeters in width and 47 millimeters from lug end to lug end. It is 11.8 millimeters thick to the top of that bezel. However, to the top of the crystal here, it is 13 millimeters thick. It also features 20 millimeter lug widths. Inside beats the heart of a Miyota 9015 Japanese movement, and if you don't know, they regulate these in-house in 4 separate positions. It's sealed behind a caseback that features a Viton gasket, and other notable features include drilled lug holes. Sucker for that. Up top is a box sapphire crystal, and of course the most notable feature here is the stainless steel bezel, which features a little dollop of Swiss Superluminova C3 alongside the dial and handset. This piece should retail for approximately the same price as the initial run of Contrails with the 12-hour bezel at $625. Man, these boys have really been stepping up their game as of late. If you haven't been to their website in a while, I believe they've updated their retrospect series with the version 2s, as well as the release of the Avalon series, which folks have been likening to the Seiko Turtle, but in all honesty, if you've taken in one in person, it is a totally different beast from that watch. As a matter of fact, I kind of like it more than the Seiko Turtle. But how about the Contrail? How does this guy stand up amongst the rest of their collection? The Contrail, in a word, is dope. Something about the look of this watch, the handset, dial aesthetic, as well as the look of that stainless steel bezel is just fantastic in combination with each other. And I never had a chance to check out for an extended period the fixed bezel or sapphire crystal bezel variant of this 12-hour bezel, but this piece is really phenomenal for daily use. If you don't want to watch, that's a diver. Otherwise, I'd recommend the Avalon. However, the Contrail here is a real smashing design. However, it's not totally without fault. Here's the thing, when you're taking in a watch's thickness, you really need to look at it in its totality. And although from the case back to the top of that bezel, essentially, you're getting something that's under 12 millimeters thick, the sapphire crystal, when I measure it, is a little over 13 millimeters thick. Now, 13 millimeters is pretty thick in my book, and it does add to the look and feel of this watch once on the wrist. And of course, it's not going to slip under the cuff as easily as a watch that's actually under 12 millimeters thick. But if you're looking to wear this as it's been intended, like a sports watch, you're probably not wearing it under a suit cuff or anything that's going to be restrictive. So it's not that big an issue, although it is a minor fault I think you should probably bear in mind. Other than that, and this is just another minor complaint, but that date window does rest just a little too far left of the 3 o'clock position, and that is of course due to the nature of the 9015 inside. That's just where the date will rest by itself. However, it does feel just a little off in relation to the rest of the dial's markers. I don't know if there's a way to adjust this dial so that it would fit alongside that minute track like the other markers are, but that's just something that sticks out a little bit like a sore thumb for me. Again, it didn't bother me in day-to-day use. It's nice having a date window exposed there instead of just having a marker at the 3 o'clock position instead. However, it does rest just a little left of where it should ultimately be seated. I should say ideally. Again, the 9015 doesn't really permit this design as it is now to have that date window to the right alongside that minute track. Although I do like how it's framed, I think the execution of it is very nice. It just is a little bit of an eyesore. Otherwise, the contrail here is really awesome. There's not a whole lot to dislike. Let's start with my favorite part about this watch, and that's sort of its main feature, this 12-hour bezel. Oh, do you hear that? It's pretty well dampened, actually. You might not hear that, but they have a lovely 60-click bidirectional bezel here that allows you to move that 12-hour indicator anywhere on the dial to give you an idea of what time it is in a separate time zone. That's how these work, and that's why they're so convenient. Right now, I have family in Arizona. I can track what time it is in Arizona. How nice is this? Honestly, who among us needs a true GMT on a regular basis? I think these 12-hour bezels do a great job at not only tracking 60-minute increments when you need to on the fly, but a separate time zone at that. And because of the nature of these builds, the cost of getting one of these is not that expensive, and in this instance, just a little over $600. The bezel action here is one of the finest I've felt to date, not only from a micro brand, but any brand in general that I've featured on the show. It is a very nice, damp, and deliberate feel to it, not too unlike a well-made camera lens. So if you like well-made things, well, this watch will definitely impress you. Speaking of well-made things, the cut and feel of this H-Link bracelet is really great on the wrist, and the clasp here isn't too unlike some clasps we've seen in the past. However, it does have a wide range of micro adjustment layers, so getting this to fit your wrist shouldn't be an issue whatsoever. And while we're down here, why don't we go ahead and take a look at that case back. You can see the Contrail jets just on the case back there. Not only the brand name, but the make of your watch as well. Another notable feature of the Contrail's design is its 200 meters water resistant rating, so if you like getting a little wet, it shouldn't be an issue with this piece. Now, of those initial Contrails that released, my favorite variant was the cream dial that was textured. I think a lot of folks really liked how that piece looked with the blacked out minute track, but I have to say the sunray finish here is very classic in design. We've seen sunray blue dials before, but this one has a very nice, almost sapphire blue look to it. It's almost entirely black when out of light, but as soon as light strikes it, you get to make out those deep shades of blue, and it's very charming to look at. I do hope that, as of filming this, I don't know yet, but I do hope they return with the 12-hour white, the cream dial version, as that was my favorite. But the blue dial is a really great switch up from their original design. Now, I am sure all of you are wondering what this watch looks like on the wrist, so without further ado, I'm going to provide you all with a wrist shot of the Nodus Contrail Blue stainless steel 12-hour bezel on a 7¼ inch wrist. And here's what the watch is going to look like for all of your admirers. And when you are going to admire it, it's going to look a little something like this. And here's the 12-hour Contrail Blue on a 7¼ inch wrist. And I really do love the look of that stainless steel bezel. It's funny how one little design aspect changes the whole appearance of a watch. And tell me if you prefer the sapphire bezel as opposed to the stainless steel one here. What is your preference? Me personally, I actually really like the look of the stainless steel. And I'm happy to see more brands featuring stainless steel inserts as well as bronze, matching bronze inserts with bronze watches. It's just nice to see that marriage instead of having, some form of aluminum insert or sapphire insert. I like having the whole look of the watch be in stainless steel. It's just a really good look, and Nodus is really great about that. As a matter of fact, when the Avalon released, I'm pretty sure every variant came in either the colorized insert or a stainless steel one. But let me know your preference. I'm curious as to what you guys prefer. But yeah, me personally, I really do love the look here. And the bracelet, you can see it tapers just a little bit, but it wears that much better because of it. And while we're looking at that side profile, you can see what I mean here. The case thickness is just a little bit thicker because of that crystal. It's not notable, it didn't ruin my day or anything, but it is something to take into consideration when looking at this piece, that total thickness. So is the 12-hour Contrail blue for you? Well, I can't make that decision for you. However, I can say that this consumer really did enjoy this piece. I think at over $600, this is a very competitively priced watch. You know, there are a lot of great offerings in that sub $700 category. However, I think that this is amongst one of the finest made pieces in that range that I've ever had the chance to experience, and definitely my favorite piece from Nodus to date. I do think that this is one of their best constructed pieces, that bezel action in particular is really phenomenal and something that you need to check out in person. I don't know why it left such an impression on me, but aside from that date application, I think this piece is pretty spot on in all regards. Do you own a Nodus watch? I'd love to hear your opinions on the brand and, of course, whichever watch you own. Have you enjoyed your time with that piece? Feel free to let me know in the comments section down below. In my opinion, this is the watch to own from Nodus if you're looking to get something other than a diver. If you wanted a watch that's well constructed and has the everyday in mind, the Contrail is a great option for you. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that like button. It looks a whole heck of a lot like this guy. If you have friends, forums, or groups that are interested in picking up the Nodus Contrail stainless steel, well, feel free to share this video with them first so they can get another consumer's opinion on the piece. Also, if you're new to the channel, well, welcome. I do watch content monthly, so if you enjoy this video, feel free to slam that subscribe button. And while you're down there, you can little bell icon just next to that to be alerted as to when my videos air. Again, my name is Patrick Marlett, and thank you for the time. This was a very easy watch to wear during the review period, and I've had this piece again for next to nearly a month. It didn't matter what I put on, casual attire, work attire, it looked great in combination, even with that blue dial. And part of that is accredited to how black this dial appears in most lighting situations. In broad daylight, you can tell it's blue, but again, even here, you can sort of tell what I'm talking about. It looks black, and there's plenty of dials that have had this sort of optical illusion to them, but it's only punctuated even more by that ring, that dark smoke gray ring that circles the outside of the hour markers and is adjacent to the minute track. It's just a really handsome dial. Again, that pairs well, the total design, not just the dial, but the total design just pairs well with everything. And you're just a very classic cut to the case here. You know, the concentric cuts on the lug ends to sort of match the round design of the case cut and bezel. The, you know, minor crown guards, a little babyish crown guards next to the crown itself. It just has a very classic look to it. At least in my opinion. You know, everyone has a different idea of what a watch should look like, but to me this has a sort of classic design. The H-Link bracelet, by the way, they did a great job on the execution here. If I'm not mistaken, it's the same as found on the first run. But again, I never really had a chance to take in one of those. And this is a really nice bracelet. It's not too tall. The individual links are not that tall, so there's plenty of space for them to curl over the contours of your wrist. So it just lends to a comfortable wear. And the clasp itself, you know, there's a couple companies that reproduce this style of clasp, but it's well executed. I don't know where they get their particular clasp from, but I like the machining here, and it's just done very well. But yeah, I had a really lovely time with this piece. It's a shame I got to send it back, but you know, as is the nature of these reviews. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and take care. I'll see you on the next one.